Okay, welcome again to another Nora Finch video. And yes, I am the person that puts pillows on the bed. I'm not too ridiculous about it, but aesthetically, I do like it. I do like my bedroom looking like a model home, even though it does not right now. It's not even done. Nothing is really very much done. So I am doing this video because I had a very interesting experience today because it was my first time in jury duty, which I've never been called in like 15, whatever, 20 years or whatever it is. And so I was really curious about this point in life. Why am I being brought to this situation? And I was kind of excited, like what's the case going to be about? What's going to happen? I've never been in this situation. I'm going to be the person on TV standing up there, having to hold my hand up and all that sort of stuff. So this was new to me. Okay, so I got dismissed, surprisingly. I really didn't think mentioning coaching first responders was gonna be an immediate dismissal, which it wasn't, but I knew it might be a factor. Okay, and then they also ask you, do you have family, friends, do you know people in law enforcement? Okay, so I got that. I didn't think that that was the reason. But it also could be the reason that my questions, I don't know because I'll never know. I asked a lot of questions. Of course, I said I'm naturally inquisitive to the judge, and I think he liked my questions. So I ended up getting dismissed. Okay, cool, whatever. So my walk away and why I'm talking about this experience is that you know how my brain works and the documenting and the everything, and just from the outside when I come in, it's like I'm assessing, like I really should be an investigator or something like that. The organizational process, but there's a couple of other things that's maybe not super exciting to talk about, but organizational process, I didn't feel like we were guided in. There wasn't a lot of communication for people for the first time, like not knowing what you're doing, not knowing what's going to happen. I mean, it's kind of nice to know those sorts of things. Just, even just other basic things. Okay, so basically what I want to say, so I already mentioned organizational process, telling us what's going to happen. It actually ended up even in that little bit of talking when they ask us to go these questions and say our name and our occupation and telling us a little bit about the case. I already had questions there. So I've already got that going in my brain. So I did speak up to the judge, who I think liked my questions, but I don't know, maybe the attorneys didn't like my questions, and that's why I got dismissed. I don't know, and I may never know. But what is a huge thing is that the attorneys, I feel like the questions that they were asking were very unclear. Even for the average adult English speaking person, English is my first language, I had a difficult time and I wanted to repeat it. Am I hearing you correctly if this is what you mean? And it actually wasn't just one question, it was several questions, and other people had issues too. So it made me think initially, like, are you effing with me? I don't think that they were, based on their demeanor, that I saw, but that is something that's going to mess with somebody. So as a juror, somebody having to get involved in these different types of cases, I can see how it messes with your head. Not only you didn't understand the question at all, so you didn't understand it, so how are you going to be able to make the fairest or the best decision? So imagine how many cases go on all over the country and the world because we didn't understand what the question was because of the way that it was worded. So that's pretty important. And like I said, it wasn't just one question that was sounded odd in the way that, it's like they could simplify. And it wasn't necessarily like law language that it was, because then there's law language. And then I'm just like, okay, I don't know what that means at all. Okay, then there's that. That's the main thing of, I guess, what I wanted to say is that can mess up a whole verdict. Secondly, I crack myself up because, for those of you who haven't listened to me before, I grew up as an introvert. And as an introvert, I realized I did not have social skills. So I really am glad that I was there. Even I feel like I helped facilitate the room to actually speak up and feel comfortable, because even as adults raised under authoritarian structure, some people are thinking whether they're having anxiety issues or, oh my God, what am I not supposed to do certain things? What are the rules here? Am I going to get in trouble? There's still older people that think about that kind of stuff. So I think because I talked enough and I actually asked questions, because certain things too, it wasn't just yes or no. I think that I allowed it, an open space for people to voice their concerns, and they did. And so I think that's one of the best things that have come out of me learning social skills, is that I've been able to do that. I'm just naturally doing it, and maybe I do sound like a Karen, or I don't know, the typical woman in the sense who's just always talking. But for me, it helps me. And if I was going to have to determine a result of a case, especially, something so serious, I need to have as much information as possible. And yes, things, I need to be able to ask questions. And when I did, the judge did say that when they have witnesses, we'll be able to ask questions and write them down on a piece of paper. But that was only because I brought it up. So I think that we need to know, especially when it comes, especially with our rights, which not a lot of us are been educated about in different areas, whether you're getting pulled over, right? Somebody breaks in your house, like just knowing these certain things, knowing your rights, knowing you can speak up, asking a question. It's like you're a student in school. Maybe you were fearful or whatever it is. Like, I know when somebody spoke up, they sometimes would ask a question that I wanted to know. So I never really thought about it as being like dumb to ask a question. I think it's worse if you just sit there and for me to just sit there and have that question inside of me and then just keep going on. And then I like I said, to make the best decision. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video, but I wanted to share this experience today because it was so different. It was interesting. It's interesting too that I'm not carrying on with it, but perhaps I'd have too many questions and another thing to get in my brain to mess with it. But definitely I encourage people, like I said, to ask questions, say, I don't understand. What do you mean? Is it clear? And these attorneys, I consider like they were nice and friendly people. So there was no intimidation. Maybe if there was intimidation, it would be different, but I still would have asked the questions. So I just wanted to share that with you all. For those of you who also may not have speak up skills, you're shy, or again, you just get in these environments where you're just like, well, should I ask a question? Should I do this? Should I do that?